Good evening, everyone. It's me, Bas, here again. We're at the end of the month, so we're here again for Twitter Space. With us tonight, webworthy Patch, Uncle Rockstar is here as well. I see Stupid Moose, see 𝐓𝐞𝐥𝐞𝐦 in the crowd. Hello, everyone. And with us today as well, joining later on. He's not here yet, but it's going to be BTC Sessions. So let's give everyone some more time to join in, and we get this going.
Yo, thanks for having us back again, Bas. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
Good.
And how's Patch doing today?
Hey, Patch.
Yeah, also doing great. Sorry, forgot how to English for a moment. No.
We got Rockstar too. I see 𝐓𝐞𝐥𝐞𝐦.
So how are you guys doing? Are you excited for today with Ben? Got some questions for the man.
We do. Looking forward to talking to him. Been following him for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to talking to him. His content seems really interesting. To be honest, I haven't discovered him until recently, but his work is definitely much needed.
Yes, and he set up so many BTC Pay servers. He might be one of our biggest advocates too, helping people get started.
Awesome. It's cool to hear that you only just now discovered him, Patch. Learning new things every day. That's cool, man.
Yeah, and considering that he spammed YouTube with like 1,000 videos or so, you kind of have to run by him if you are in the space, I guess.
Yeah, over 1,000 videos. That is crazy. For anybody making YouTube videos consistently for 6 years, all Bitcoin content. Amazing.
Yeah, it's good to have people like Ben. Ben is a great educator for Bitcoin, of course. What have you guys been up to for BTC Pay server a couple of last weeks? It's been now since we last were here.
We had that 1.9 go out with a little animation. What else have we got going? Patch, anything from the changelog you want to talk about?
Yeah, my two favorite features from the 1.9 changelog, basically the confetti at checkout that you guys probably have seen already if you're using BTC Pay. So gamification and getting payments as frictionless as possible. And also very nice for the merchants that use it on the ground. Our solution is the ability to have the items on the receipt now. I think we had an issue there in 1.90, but it got fixed, hopefully. Yeah, and other than that, we've done a lot of testing and stuff. I think someone wants to talk.
Yeah, I see Ben is joining us.
Yay.
Oh, there he is.
Thanks for joining us.
So sorry I was a couple minutes late. I was literally teaching somebody how to use BTC Pay server.
Exactly. They're one of our biggest advocates.
Always be late, Ben. You may be late when you teach someone another BTC Pay server instance. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good. Yeah, stoked to come and chat. Thanks for having me in the first place. I was flattered to get an invite to come and chat. I love everything that's happening with BTC Pay. You guys are fucking legends.
I see that Uncle Rockstar also has joined us here on Twitter Spaces. Question for you, Rockstar. I have to ask: do we call you Aunt Roxy or Uncle Rockstar? I'm a bit in a split way currently.
I mean, I am gender fluid, so depends on the day. But to switch to topic at hand, like leaving my personal identity on side, I'm also glad to be together with BTC Sessions because when we talked, Bas, on who to join, all team wanted the BTC sessions, and I'm so glad he's here with us because, man, what we can build the technology and like contribute and code on BTC Pay server and deal with the problems of people yelling at us. But it's guys like you, man, that then make use of that technology to help individuals to spread the creed. So thank you for being today with us.
Dude, thanks for the kind words. And again, like what you guys have made and continue to iterate on is it's such a useful and unique tool. And I love seeing it out in the wild with so many different people using it. I got to give a shout out to actually somebody I see in the audience that was probably one of the earliest adopters of BTC Pay server, and that's Mike down at CoinCards, because he was one of the first places that I went. So back in 2014, there was a company that doesn't exist anymore, but they were effectively they wanted to try and experiment and see, you know, how can people live on Bitcoin, and they had a service that allowed people to pay bills and everything like that. But they basically held a contest, and they said, okay, submit videos to say why you love Bitcoin, and then what we'll do is the winner of this contest, we're going to pay your bills for an entire month, and we'll give you Bitcoin to do it. And you just have to document your month living on Bitcoin. And you can use our service, but you can also use any other method that you see fit, and just, yeah, document it. This is before I started my channel. So like 2 years before I started it, I ended up winning, and then they were like, great, we'll send you money and you can live on it. They ended up sending me, I cringe to think, but I did have to spend it. That was part of the deal. They sent me 5 Bitcoin to live on for the month. So yeah, I got 5 Bitcoin to live on for the month, and I used partly their service. But one of the other big things that helped me was CoinCards. And when I get there, and I start using them and everything, I look and, oh, lo and behold, there, as I'm using it over the years, and I'm seeing, this is such a handy little interface to be able to make payments, and it's super easy. And yeah, so hats off to Mike for being an early pioneer in the BTC Pay way.
That's such a story, Ben. Go ahead.
It is, because a stupid moose, doesn't do justice to his handle. But yeah, Mike has been a big part of the project ever since, and yeah, continue to support. Maybe we can even get him on stage eventually. But I even remember maybe the first big user of BTC Pay server. Me and Nicholas had a talk with him when the BTC Pay server was initially launched, and after like 2 months, we asked him, "Hey man, how much did you process through BTC Pay server?" And I won't say exact number, but he said like a good number, and we were like, "Oh fuck, like this actually works." So yeah, Mike, forever thankful for you being like one of the first to switch from BitPay to BTC Pay server and support the project ever since. BTC sessions, maybe, yeah, like videos up on your channel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Are you talking about the old original ones, like from?
Yeah, when you were living on Bitcoin.
Yeah, they're not even on the same channel. They're like, I'll have to toss them up on Twitter later, but it was, yeah.
You had they're on the secondary channel, the family channel, Ben.
Yeah, they're on some old, I'd have to look it up. But I've got some old channel, and I can't even remember what I put on there. It was just like travel stuff and all this other stuff with whenever I would go backpacking with my wife and everything like that. So yeah, I'll show those out though later on.
So after living a month on Bitcoin and well, maybe now thinking back of, oh my God, it was 5 Bitcoin from Mike, etc. How did you get to BTC Pay's project and specifically then getting into the whole education space? Because mainly for me, you're, as I said in the tweet as well, you're one of the top educators and specifically digitally. And yeah, please elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, so when I started dabbling in Bitcoin and learning, which again, like everybody, you see it a handful of times, ignore it, and then eventually say, okay, I'm going to start diving in. So in 2014, let's be honest, there was kind of nothing in terms of educational content for like practical, how do I do this type stuff. And I'm a very visual learner. And so when somebody tells me, yeah, go to this message board and scroll like halfway down, and then some dude posted a bullet form list of how to do the thing, and which inevitably omitted like a whole bunch of different steps. And yeah, so I didn't learn that way. And so I was trying to look for, oh, where are all the video tutorials on how to do this? And they didn't exist. So after about 2 years of just kind of tearing out my hair and fumbling my way through it, I decided I'd just do it. And so prior to Bitcoin, I spent about a decade teaching little kids how to breakdance. So I had a bit of that educational portion. I was very used to teaching complex movement to children. And so that translates quite well to teaching complex technology to adults, amazingly enough. And I mean, in general, as long as you can take a concept and break it down into bite-sized pieces, then the content itself is irrelevant as long as you have a grasp of it. So, and as I said, I had previously done some video editing and stuff like that just from traveling. And again, I was used to talking in front of people. So I just kind of put all those things together and started making really kind of quick videos on, oh, how do you use a wallet? How do you use a Bitcoin ATM? How do you use a hardware device, which, you know, there weren't a lot of those when I first started, but now there's plenty to cover. Yeah, and I just started putting up videos. I told myself I'd do at least one video every week on whatever the hell I felt like covering, and I didn't stop. Now it's 7 years. I think I'm coming up on year 7 of the channel in the next month or two. And year 7? Yeah, holy shit. Yeah, so I started in 2016. So yeah, it'll be 7 years in June, I think. And I started off just doing one video a week, and now I do like my weekly tutorial on top of a news video and the Friday panel shows. So yeah, man, it's been a hell of a road. And then in terms of BTC Pay, I feel like I should have done better in terms of understanding how useful it was early on, because obviously you guys probably saw the shit that happened here in last February, March, around then. And I regret to say that I wasn't super filled in on how to use BTC Pay. I had like briefly dabbled at that point, but hadn't really like fully, oh, I'm gonna get my hands dirty and run this and use it. And so I just used a you know, albeit a nice simple option for the trucker protest to fundraise. But in an adversarial environment, you want to have things be really robust. You want to have like new receiving address every single time. There's a number of things. And so shit hit the fan with that. And it wasn't as private as I would have liked, given that we didn't realize how big things were going to get, and it was done in haste. And so after that, I was like, holy shit, I really need to get a better understanding and start using this myself. And so I did. So I'm kind of correcting for past mistakes. And yeah, so now I use this all the time. I started doing workshops whenever I travel to various cities. And so I always put up a BTC Pay to accept Bitcoin for tickets. I also now my tip page at the end of my videos is now a BTC Pay server, and it links to my own node, and I can basically, like, if I get Lightning payments, it goes it's directly linked to Zeus on my phone, and yeah, I love it. It's incredible. Like all of my infrastructure is now personally run and set up, and BTC Pay just helps me do that. Like I've got a direct line to any person that wants to, buy a ticket for an event or pay for whatever it may be. It's amazing.
So I'm hearing you have almost everything in there already, Ben. But did you already check out the latest plugin for Nostr as well, so you can accept your zaps through your BTC Pay server? I mean, I gotta throw it in there.
What I was doing the other day, I did a video on voltage, and so I basically did. I did do the setup for that, but it's kind of, I've got like a voltage Lightning node and BTC Pay all kind of linked in together. But yeah, basically I've got my zaps coming to my own Lightning node and then accessible immediately on Zeus on my phone and all that. So yeah, man, so it's all kind of working together beautifully.
Yeah, maybe I think so. You hit on the trucker protests already a bit, but like post-trucker protest, what would you feel like currently, as you've experienced with all the educational videos, is like the tech stack that you feel comfortable with, knowing all your experiences and all that stuff? What is it that makes it into your stack, to call it that way, of technical solutions?
Yeah, so I mean, I obviously I use a lot of things because that's kind of what I do. Like I have to cover everything. So, but I've got a good mix of stuff that it's ever evolving. My day-to-day Lightning wallet is now Zeus. Actually, maybe let's start at the kind of the base of my stack. So there's two different nodes that I primarily use, and I'm talking about like linking back to my full Bitcoin Core nodes. So I very early on set up an Umbrel, and so that's still purring away because I set up a pretty robust Lightning node on that one, and I still use it a bunch. However, I've got a Start9 embassy here, and I love that thing. And there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike for that as well. So those are kind of my two main drivers, and I'm starting to migrate more and more to my embassy. And I really like what that team is doing. And so when it comes to, again, my Bitcoin Core, I do have a Lightning node on that one, but I'm going to migrate the one that I have on Umbrel to my embassy in the future, which you can do. And then, so yeah, that runs my Lightning and my Bitcoin Core. And then I also use like mempool.space just as a block explorer, so I run that locally as well. In terms of what I'm using kind of day to day on my laptop, because I do a lot of stuff on my laptop just in terms of accepting payment and everything. So my desktop wallet of choice is Sparrow. I use that all the time. My invoices come through, my on-chain invoices come through Sparrow. So like if you pay something through BTC Pay server, it's going to pop up on my Sparrow wallet. I'm going to see that there. And then I typically, I do practice CoinJoin regularly, and I will mix and then perhaps pay a bill or do whatever I need to after I mix, or I will mix directly into savings, which savings-wise, if I'm doing like a single sig thing, because it's more of kind of temporary savings, then I just go straight to like a cold card. But if it's multi-sig, I've actually got two things going. I do have Unchained, and that's like my idiot proof. Like, I recognize that there's, that Unchained knows I have those funds, and that also if there was ever a crackdown, it would be like, oh, well, they could disclose that, but obviously they can't touch the funds. But that's kind of more like a small portion of my stack where I'm like, if the worst thing possible happened and my family had no idea what to do, they could go there and prove that they're next of kin and they know what to do to get access to that money. But also for my kids, I've got inheritance planning, assisted multi-sig with Nunchuck. And I love those guys. And one of the reasons I love them so much is because they were so helpful, again, with the trucker protest last year. Like, they basically, when shit hit the fan and the Canadian government emailed them and was like, hey, we need all the information on your users, they wrote a letter back basically telling the Canadian government to go fuck itself. They more or less, I don't know if you guys read the letter, but they shared it publicly. It actually got read by Ted Cruz at CPAC to a massive audience. But they basically said, like, hey, we can't give up any information on our users because we don't have it. And even if we did, we wouldn't want to. And furthermore, when the Canadian dollar goes to zero, we will be here to serve you too. And it was beautiful. So anyways, I love those guys. And they basically made like an assisted multi-sig that requires no KYC. And that's, I think, huge. So anyways, I'm using that. Hardware-wise, again, I love my cold card and all that stuff. I have a ton of, I obviously have all of it. I've got, just looking through my stash here, I've got ledgers and trezors and jades and seed signers, and but I've got a disgusting amount of cold cards and tap signers. What else do I have? Like Keystone, just a little bit of everything.
I think you use them in your courses as well, right? When you do the educational courses, which you mentioned, where people can get tickets for. I think you do the cold cards then, right? When you use them, do you show the people how to use that in BTCserver as well, or how does that go?
So, I mean, there's a lot to get through with the cold card, right? Like, there's even just like the initial, let's set it up, let's import it into Sparrow, let's do an air gap transaction, let's wipe the device, and let's restore it. Like, that in and of itself, with a room full of, say, 15 people, and all of the issues that can arise in those steps, and like clarifying for everyone, that in itself is like the first hour, if not more. So it's a 4-hour workshop, so we do get through a lot, but I think what might be in order, if there's demand for it, is I'd love to further segregate workshops and be like, okay, if you've done this one as like a prerequisite, here's like, oh, here's how. I think a BTC paid workshop. I mean, you guys always host that kind of stuff too, so like, I'm not going to step on any toes there, but it's definitely worth. I would love to. I have to flesh out ideas for other workshops that people might find valuable, and yeah, 100%. Like, I want to touch on stuff like this. So maybe we'll say it's in the roadmap.
So I raise hand just to say that I was in few of these workshops, but the one that I really remember well is the one that BTC Sessions did in Oslo. Not for Bitcoiners, but for pre-coiners, human rights activists, where for them it's a matter of life and death to know this stuff. And it was an amazing session. Is it recorded? Like, that one should be recorded as well. or not?
I don't know that I ever saw it as a recording. I'm not sure if they were filming it or not. But yeah, it was fun. Like that was a good one. Just in that there were some awesome people in the room. First of all, like the amount of Bitcoiner talent in that room, being like my wingman to make sure that all of the human rights activists in the room like understood and basically like at every turn, like anybody who was confused, I was like, listen, there are the top minds on earth in and around Bitcoin in this room. The second you run into a snag, they are all sat at your table. Just ask. And like those people in that room, I hope came out of it with a solid foundation of knowledge. But we basically just got them set up with a simple wallet, and we're able to do transactions back and forth, like do easy like lightning transactions and everything. And it was amazing. And the conversations that I had after that session with some people, in particular in some like Central American regions, the level of like just to give an idea of where these people were at, like how unfamiliar they were with Bitcoin. I spoke with this lady from a Central American country who does a lot of protests and whose government is hostile towards any sort of protest. And she was like, oh, so she was trying to work out, okay, once we get the Bitcoin there, which is amazing that we can just do this because we're totally cut off right now. But they were trying to work out like on the ground, how do we then use that practically? How do we get our hands on the goods that we need in order to, you know, continue with our protests? And in passing, because she had said, oh, some shitcoiner had tried to pitch their bags to her. Oh, you should use this instead. And I was like, nah, I wouldn't do that. And I was just explaining like a few differences. And in passing, I mentioned the cap supply. I was like, oh, and you know, like the 21 million cap. And she was like, the what? And I was like, well, you know, like how Bitcoin is limited to only 21 million coins. There will only ever be 21 million. Yes, you can divide them, but the supply is limited. And her eyes lit up. She was like, oh my God, that is so useful. Like she had come to it from a censorship resistant framework and had no idea that she also had absolute certainty of monetary policy. And she was dumbfounded that these two things were now baked into one solution. So this is the level of understanding of new people coming in. Like they come in for one reason, and then like one of the biggest selling features for a lot of Westerners that have come to it is not even known to them until later. So it's astounding.
Thanks for that, man. I mean, we of course have a partner in HRF as well, as a sponsor of BTCpay, and we get to talk to a lot of activists through that as well. And it's as you said, man, it's stories that you can't really explain what happens when they notice that someone like you or me from far away in the West can just pay them straight away in Africa within seconds. Nobody bothered them. Nobody came in and took a big chunk of fees, etc. And they get to go on with their days and help out with their things that they're doing there. It's an amazing tool, man. I'm really happy to hear that you're teaching them BTCpay in a lot of ways. And I think you went to Mexico at some point as well, right? Setting up merchants, etc.
Oh, actually, this was a private session that I had with somebody. Yeah, was it yesterday? Within the past 2 days. So on my website, people sometimes they'll go and they'll book me for like if the free tutorials online, you know, if they need a bit more hand holding. And so there are these two guys in Mexico, and they're effectively trying to bootstrap a number of merchants accepting Bitcoin, and they were like, okay, so we're looking to, again, do BTC Pay servers and get our Lightning infrastructure set up and all of this different stuff, and they're just at the very beginning stages. And this guy that I'm talking to that booked the session, he just heard about Lightning, like literally he went down to El Salvador for adopting Bitcoin like months ago, and now they're in the learning trajectory of these guys hearing about Lightning for the first time. When was that? Like November, I think. And now they're back in Mexico, and they're well into the process of saying, okay, we're going to start onboarding merchants. We're going to set up this infrastructure. We're going to learn BTC Pay server. We're going to learn Lightning liquidity and everything. So yeah, I tweeted out the other day, and maybe I'll share it up to the nest here as I'm explaining it. But they're kind of just learning the ins and outs of like, well, how do we get inbound liquidity? What are the considerations we want to think about when setting up our node? Like how do payments get routed? What size channels should we be doing? All of that. And yeah, so I tweeted out, if anybody wants to help them with a little bit of inbound liquidity, then here's their node connection information. So anyways, I just shared that to the nest. So if anybody ends up being super keen on opening a little channel with these guys to help with some liquidity as they begin to bootstrap this node and help some merchants, then yeah, man, open up a channel with them. So yeah.
All that you've done are in others. The Lightning portion, I mean, I sometimes even still struggle with that, how to explain it. Do you find yourself in that same situation sometimes, of how do you explain that route of inbound and outbound liquidity, and how to manage that? Is that something that comes up for you as well?
Yeah, and Lightning's when people are asking not just what Lightning does, but how it works, it's a multi-part explanation, right? And so I typically at first try to just default to the implications of Lightning. What does it do? Because for a number of people that just want to use it and just are curious of what the difference is, or maybe they're coming from Bitcoin is slow and expensive, that old trope. Sometimes all that's needed is, Lightning is Bitcoin, but it just makes it instant and very cheap. Okay, sometimes that's enough. But when somebody starts saying like, well, okay, but what is that? Then, I mean, I typically default to a bit of a trajectory where I say, okay, well, imagine, like the tab explanation, like, if you can only do so many, like, let's say I'm at a bar and it's going to cost me a little bit of money every time I do a transaction. Well, I could, pay for every single beer individually through the night, or I could open up a tab and basically say over the course of the night, it gets updated as to how much money I owe you. And I then settle that at the end of the night. And I can kind of dive into, well, a Lightning channel is more or less like a tab between two entities, and you're kind of sliding the funds back and forth like the beads on an abacus as you do transactions. But I say, but it goes beyond that, because you're not just connected to that person, but that person is connected to a number of other people. And so you can pay others through them, and you can pay others through the people that those are connected to. So it becomes more like a web, and there's this chain reaction of beads being bumped down the abacus until you find your 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to get to the intended recipient. So I kind of start from the tab analogy and then I extrapolate out to say like, with a certain number of hops, you can effectively reach anybody through this network. So if I do that, and then I just make clear that, and it's real Bitcoin. It's not fake Bitcoin. It's not an IOU. It's actual Bitcoin locked between two entities. Then that tends to get the message across, I find. And sometimes there's some finagling with the details there, but that tends to work.
All right, man. Thanks for that. I wonder if maybe Uncle has something with this as well, being head of Strike. Is there, for you, similar kind of situations where you still run into people, and I guess more corporate people nowadays, that you have to explain concepts of Lightning, and is it like still a big hurdle for you as well? Or is it now so much into your system that you have everything ready for it?
I just redirect them to BTC sessions videos. That's what I do. So no problem for me.
That's a good way to do it too, Uncle. I gotta be real. I think we gotta do that more. I don't know if you ever saw this, Ben, but we took your guide video on Voltage and BTCserver to write our own guide based upon what you did, and included your video from that as well on our documentation. I don't know if you ever noticed, but we did.
I didn't end up knowing that. I mean, I think I knew that you guys had shared the video, but I didn't realize that it helped with the documentation. That's super flattering. Thanks for that. That's amazing.
It helped me the first time go through the steps as well, because I was watching your video going through the steps, and of course, I mean, I know the steps of BTCserver's way, but of doing it Voltage way, that's always something new, right? And having your guide right next to it made it really easy to write documentation instead of just figuring out everything again on yourself. So much appreciated, man.
Yeah, no worries. It's I think the more, and this is what I love seeing happening right now, but the more people play with the tools and practice explaining them, the better people get at explaining them. And I've lately been seeing, and maybe it's just because I'm looking for it, but I've been seeing a rise of Bitcoiners creating like step-by-step video tutorials. And thank God, because there's no way I can cover it all. And sometimes I miss things, and sometimes I screw up a tutorial, or sometimes I just straight up can't even get to making one. We need many people educating in as many different ways and flavors as possible. And I'm so excited to see a number of these people start to pop up. I'm gonna have to start putting together a list of other Bitcoin kind of tutorial educators out there. And there's so many good ones. I saw Parman coming in here earlier. I think he popped out since, but Armin the Parman is a legend for, again, like written walkthroughs. But there's a number of new guys that are popping up. And
I don't want to say he's a new guy, but we have 𝗿𝗿𝗶𝘃𝗰 with us as well. He's picking it up for us nowadays, and doing the videos and all the walkthroughs, and I'm sure he has a word or two to share of that as well, and maybe some experiences he wants to know about from your side.
I wanted to ask, guys, you do such amazing long form stuff, and for the newer creators, what has been the thing that's kept you going for so long? 'Cause there's been so many people that have kind of come and gone, but man, you were 6 years in, 1,000 videos. Any words of advice for newer creators and sticking around?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is key. I think, but I mean, when you get to play with and learn so many new things about something that you're passionate about, and that becomes your day-to-day, I mean, I don't. I'll say right now, I'm happier than I've ever been. I literally get to dick around with magic internet money every single day and somehow make a living out of it. And so I think just do it if you're passionate about it, and continue to iterate. I'll also say that not everything is going to be perfect every single time, and that's okay. Like, there's plenty of times, if not every single week, where I put out a video and I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot this one thing, or I wish I would have said this differently, or that part is actually incorrect and I need to put a little note in there. But like, that's just kind of the name of the game. And getting better at something is literally just learning how not to fail at it. It's just continuing to iterate and doing things less poorly over time. Some of my early videos kind of suck, and that's just kind of how it goes. One time I did a tutorial on how to use ETH with your Trezor. I'm so sorry. But you learn, and you hopefully become better because of it, and your understanding of things gets better. So yeah, just focus on what you're passionate about, continue to make the content, engage with people, ask, get comments. And again, that first few months of doing the channel, when like nobody watched for a long time. And when I say nobody, I mean a few people watched. And I remember getting my first few comments, and oh my God, somebody watched this and they're commenting and they've got a question, and now it's like there's no hope in hell of being able to respond to everything, but like you try. And yeah, I don't know, iterate and just continue to try not to become stagnant. If you get bored with something, if you don't like the way something is going, then change it. Try something new. Even if it's a bit of work to make the change, that's fine, because you're learning and you're iterating, and you'll get better at the new way of doing things. I'm trying to think. And I mean, also you get a lot more proficient. Like now, I sometimes catch myself as I'm editing a tutorial and I'm just like, selecting things and clicking, and everything just kind of goes through so quickly, because it's just, I've done it every week for 7 years. But those initial steps are, laborious, and it takes time to kind of master that. So yeah, I don't know, just continue to hone the craft and just keep it consistent. Say to yourself, all right, I'm going to do a video once a week, and then just start, and then keep doing it. Even if you get to the occasional week where you're like, I don't know if I'm feeling it this week, just go through the process, just keep at it. And I found some of my most hair-pulling videos, in terms of putting them together, have been my most rewarding. Like doing the lightning nodes tutorial, how to set that up was, and like all the node tutorials. Holy crap! The amount of people that I get coming up to me when I'm at an event, and they say, "Oh, you know what? I'm running a node because I watched that video," or I learned how to do CoinJoin because of you," or I mastered my cold card, or I set up a BTC Pay server. And like, hearing all of that stuff is like the greatest reward of all time. When I think of the number of people and the number of ways that have claimed part of their self-sovereignty because they saw a video that was put out there, it warms my heart. And I think you as a creator should recognize that, in that when you look, let's say you put together a video on how to run a node or how to set up BTC Pay or whatever, when you look at the number of views, if it seems like a small number of views to you, look at that number and imagine every single person that watched that set up a BTC Pay server. That's massive. That's a huge change on the trajectory of human flourishing right there. So yeah, value every single view, value every single comment, because all of those people are interested in becoming more self-sovereign, and that's incredible.
That's an incredible bit of advice there, I guess, specifically for people like Webworthy, or I see Destruct and Dennis in the crowd as well from us. Hi guys, good to see you. I guess this goes back to all the design and all the iterations that they do on their front, and for Webworthy to create that one video that maybe 100 people watch, but as you said, that 100 people got something out of it, right? It's a piece of knowledge shared again. So nice to hear that. What would you think of opening the floor for a bit, Ben, and see if we can drag some people up here and see if they have some questions maybe for you or for us, and slowly get to that hour.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
All right, let's see if we have people that want to grab the mic out of themselves. I'm going to invite Dennis and Destruct at least, as being our contributors, of course, to the project as well. Happy to open the mic for them. I see Mary in the crowd as well, which is a content creator, of course, in the gaming space. Maybe Mary has some questions for Ben, and anyone else, feel free to ask the mic, and we're happy to open it up. Maybe Webworthy or Patch, do you have any questions after it is all?
We're waiting for people to ask some questions. Without going too long, I thought it was so cool that Rockstar, you had that blog post about the pleb to dev spectrum. And Ben, when you first started your YouTube channel or your Bitcoin channel, you said in your first video, I'm a non-technical Bitcoin contributor, and how far that has come and how probably technical you feel now. What do you think about that, and how, or do you think about more people making that transition?
I mean, yeah, I love that you did a throwback to my original man. That's I remember filming that in my city, being like, is this going to be stupid? But no, yeah. It was just me standing around with a Bitcoin, and I can't remember. It was like this old Bitcoin hoodie that I got. But yeah, basically just saying like, hey, this is kind of who I am. I'm into Bitcoin. I don't code. I don't do all of these things. But I see value here, and I've got my own kind of unique spot in the world where I'm coming from, and this is what I hope to do. And yeah, especially that part about not being technical, not really knowing everything about this, but wanting to, and then jumping forward 7 years, and like, yes, I'm not building apps, I'm not doing all that, but I mean, the amount of it's amazing how much you can take in a short period of time, and I also say this from the perspective of some of the one-on-ones that I've done with people recently. Oh my God, they say, oh, I'm not techie at all, and then they're asking me about multi-sig and derivation paths and all of this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, when did you get into Bitcoin? And they're like, oh, about a year and a half ago. Jesus, like 7 years in, and I'm starting to feel comfortable with some of that stuff. And these people are like, yeah, well, I got into it. About 6 weeks later, I figured out that Bitcoin was different from everything else. So I started focusing on just that. I read, a bunch of books and everything. And then I dove in, I got into your tutorials and basically set up a node. I'm working on multi-sig. I'm playing with Lightning. And I'm like, a year in, are you insane? Holy crap. So the learning trajectory of people is accelerating a lot. And I think, again, to give credit to everybody in the Bitcoin space, that whether it be the authors and the content creators that discuss the why of Bitcoin, whether it be the people building the tools like you guys, making it easier, and kind of listening to the people and what their experiences are thus far, and then iterating to make this stuff more accessible. And then again, like myself, but the other people that are creating educational content around how to use everything, all of those things combined are pumping out some insanely well-educated new Bitcoiners at, again, an accelerating pace. And I got to say, every time I finish one of these one-on-one sessions, because I actually get to see the knowledge base of some of these people, it can feel like it's not the case at times, but I got to tell you, everybody's doing a really good job onboarding new people, because those people are getting quality educations, and never doubt that for a second, because I'm seeing it, and it makes me smile every day.
We're happy that you're there too, Ben, with bringing a big portion of that education. With that said, I want to welcome Jay Rund and Mary up here. I think Jay was just a little bit faster than you, Mary, so I'm going to give him the mic first. What's up, my man? What can we do for you tonight?
Well, you guys have done a lot with making possible having a BTC Pay server, a point of sale that is leveraging Bitcoin, and now we can connect the Lightning into it. So you've been doing a lot. I just wanted to thank. I want to thank everyone, and especially Pavlenex. He's been helping me in a few times in the Mattermost chat. I don't talk too much there, but so far I've been just learning how to set up the BTC Pay server with Lightning, which is one of the a little bit more technical parts, and I haven't seen a video about it. I promised I was going to make a video, but I haven't done it yet. I have a small YouTube channel which is inspired by Ben as well. Thank you, Ben, for all you do. And I only have a few videos, and they're all focused on Lightning and mostly Umbrel, and coming up will be core Lightning with Embassy and other things. But the only question I have, and I will follow up also in the chat, is we will definitely need more testing and evaluation also with core Lightning in connecting it with the BTC Pay server. LND is pretty simple. I got it to work, and I have a testing site where I get paid by Lightning or Bitcoin via on-chain. But I haven't been able to set up the macaron with a core Lightning node, which I have. But maybe, hopefully, Nicolas Dorier here in Tokyo, hopefully I can get hold of him, or maybe someone else. We'll see. But I want to thank everyone. That's what I want to say.
Thanks so much for the words. And if you can drag Nicholas out of his cave, please let us know where he is. No. Maybe Patch can jump in, and maybe he has some pointers for you already. Patch, you want to go?
Yeah, maybe that's something we can look at in Mattermost as well. I mean, I do know where the macarons are stored, and maybe we can make them accessible for your application.
Yeah,
you're trying to make a remote connection, right? So it's LND REST probably.
Yes, but I already got it working with LND. LND is working fine. I was not able to do it with the Embassy and core Lightning, but I think the limitation is not in. Maybe now that I remember, the limitation maybe is in the Embassy side, I think.
Okay, feel free to shoot me a message and we can look at it together. I have a note here that I can switch between LND and core Lightning. That is just for testing. So maybe we can reproduce the problem.
Yeah, I will reach out. And there was another member that helped me a lot. I don't remember his name, but I really wanted to thank him as well. But he really helped me a lot as well in setting up the BTC Pay server, because that's a part that a lot of people would like to have. They want to have a BTC Pay server set up by default is accepting on-chain transaction. That's not difficult. That's the easy part. The more complex part is connecting a node that you have already set up with LND, and then connecting it to BTC Pay server, so you get the QR codes in both options. You get the Lightning option and you get the on-chain option. That's the nice part. But yeah, that's we'll get there.
Maybe just one thing to add here. I know we are all against custodial solutions and such, but for new users, it might be an interesting option still to talk about. You can connect an Albi Lightning wallet to BTC Pay server and start with Lightning right away without running your own node. So that kind of takes the hurdle down a bit. But of course, if you want to do it seriously, you shouldn't do that with big funds and stuff.
Okay, I consider that, but I'm more like an engineer, so I think we can get it to work. I think we'll get it to work.
I guess you guys will meet up in Mattermost together with Pav, and I'll relay your kind messages to him as well, Jay. Thanks for that. Mary, what can we do for you tonight? Can I open it up for you, the mic?
Thank you so much. So I have two questions for Ben. First of all, Ben, you're doing really awesome, and you're a really huge inspiration to a lot of creators. My question to you is that since Bitcoin is a very niche, it's very niche, right, in the space, and a lot of people, we want to push our Bitcoin message to people who are not Bitcoiners so that they get to know more about Bitcoin. So it's so important for our content to at least rank well in the algorithm, but like, is that a problem to you? Is that something you consider, like trying to make your content, rank? Are those like kind of metrics that you look out for? Do you try to comply with SEO? Should creators, even like Bitcoin creators, should they be worried about that? And that's my first question. And my second question is, like, for new creators, like, do you feel that they have to focus on like improving the quality of their content as for like getting more equipment, or just, start where they're at? I'd love to hear your take on that. Yeah, those are my two questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, first off, nice to chat with you, Mary. I think I might have sent you a message before about coming on a Friday panel, but if I didn't, you should come on a Friday panel sometime. Yeah, so in terms of SEO and all that, trying to make sure things are visible, yeah, to a degree, I'm obviously trying to make things as visible and accessible as possible. But I also acknowledge that I tend not to be people's first part, their first intro to Bitcoin. And what I mean by that is people come to my content when they've already begun to understand the why of Bitcoin. And so typically, and I know that Bitcoiners tend to be averse to like marketing terminology and everything, but like in the grand funnel of capturing new people into Bitcoin, the first thing that you come across is probably going to be some sort of content that is discussing the existing financial system in some capacity and contrasting it with what Bitcoin offers and how that can help the individual. And that's kind of not my bag. We talk about that obviously on Friday panels and everything like that. But that's usually not where I'm greeting people in their journey. They've gone through that step of, holy crap, this is revolutionary. This is gonna change everything, and this is incredibly useful for me. Now, how do I use it? And so I'm meeting them at a different part of that journey. So by the time they come to me, they're not asking, why should I care about this? They're asking, okay, how do I get my hands on it and use it? So I get to, I'm partly benefiting from the hard work that all those other people are doing, is explaining why Bitcoin is important. And I'm just kind of like one of the next steps in that trajectory. So yeah, like in regards to that question, yeah, I think it's important to tailor your content to the right types of people. And I definitely, I've done a bit of that in that, I've got a lot of basic wallet videos and things like that, and a few short explainers like what is a wallet and, what's the difference between custodial and non-custodial. So little things like that are important, and timing them too, because new content gets priority over old content. So, as you get into a bull run, it's like, let's make some beginner content and that'll be pushed more to the top of searches. But in a bear market, it's like, let's get a bunch of the good, deep technical stuff that the existing Bitcoiners who are leveling up, that don't give a shit about the price fluctuations, they're here to learn. Great. Let's pump out all of that for them. And then they can level up in peace, and they've got all their stuff. There's no noise going on, and you can get your head down and work. And that's part of the reason I love the bear markets. So yeah, just know your audience and know what type of audience is going to be prevalent at any one time, given kind of the weather out there. And then the second part, in and around like your existing tech stack and what you've got kicking around. I mean, just start where you are and build from there. I didn't really have many sats to be thrown around when I first started the channel. I had not a whole lot to deal with there. People always say like, oh, geez, 2014, that's pretty early to get into Bitcoin. Sure, if I had any money. I didn't have two nickels to rub together. So I was not able to. People always assume like, oh yeah, I heard about Bitcoin in 2014 and threw 20 grand into it. No, I was barely able to make ends meet. So the only reason that I've gone beyond that is because I learned better habits over time, was able to save a bit more, and that coinciding with me discovering money that doesn't debase over time has enabled me to do more and be better. But yeah, in terms of, you don't need to get the latest thing. I was just working off like a cheap webcam early on. I bought a super cheap microphone. There's content creators that don't have expensive gear that still make incredible stuff. The gear is a tool, but the person is what makes the content. And so if there's quality there, it will come through. And then you can iterate as more people watch and as you feel it's justified. But going out and buying an expensive camera isn't going to make people watch you.
That's some awesome answers, I think, from Mary right there. We just got, I don't know, do you have any other questions, Mary? Sorry if I skipped over that.
No, I'm good. Thank you so much for the answers. And yeah, I'd really love to join a Friday session. I'll send you a DM soon.
That should be set up soon, I'm pretty sure. What's up, 𝐓𝐞𝐥𝐞𝐿? How are you doing today?
Hello, guys. Well, I just wanted to say kudos to you and all the team, especially the work, the BTC sessions, and all of you are doing on a daily basis, because being in this space, being so volatile, but also innovative, where every week you get some new release, and it's hard to keep up with all these new ways of doing things easier and onboarding more people to the space, right? So thank you for making this a little bit more digestible to many of us, that even though it doesn't matter how long you have been, you have to keep up and sharpening your skills, learning the new things that come at you, and because that's the way you can help more people get in the space.
That's some good words, man. Thank you very much, Ben. I think most of these words are aimed towards you and towards a bunch of contributors that I see in the crowd. So please take them from our friend there.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. It's, again, anytime I hear anybody has been able to learn something from a video that's been created, it's that's why I think a lot of people love being in the space and contributing in their own way. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's very nice to hear, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. I don't know how you're in your time, Ben.
I actually do have to jump onto another one-on-one session with somebody here.
Shall we go wrap it up then?
But I do appreciate. I'll let you guys wrap and then any final words and then I'll jump into my other call.
Awesome, and first of all, I want to thank you, of course, for joining us, and yeah, if there's anything ever, you know where we are. You can find everyone always, you know that. And from our end, I have one little cool message, I think, and also for the people that are just listening in. Of course, BTCserver runs by sponsors, and luckily, the guys from Escape to El Salvador just became a new sponsor to BTCserver's foundation. And by that, we can, of course, keep our developers and everyone around the project. That is huge for us as project to have these kind of sponsors. And as we're there anyway, let me name a couple of others of them as well, because we always want to thank them, which are Spiral, Human Rights Foundation. We spoke about them earlier today. Strike, Bill and Gifford, Lunanode, Wallet of Satoshi, Coin Cards, Mike. Mike is still in the crowd. Thank you so much, man. You've been here for all the 5 years that we've been around. It was great meeting you in Riga. We had some good steak and had some good drinks. I hope we get to repeat it again in Riga this year. Of course, last but not least, Escape to El Salvador and IVPN. They help us out as well. And Ben, do you have any last words for us? Otherwise, we're just going to wrap it up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, for everybody that's here and listening, again, thanks for coming along. And if you're still in the midst of your learning journey, don't be afraid to tinker around. You don't need prerequisite knowledge to dive into a lot of the stuff. A lot of the time, the act of trying something is how you learn. It's not the other way around. Start tinkering, and the questions that arise from that tinkering they all contribute to your learning journey. So dive in, give everything a try.
Yeah, and you've heard Ben speak for an hour now with us, and know where you can find Ben. Everywhere it's at BTC Sessions. I think, right? There's no deviation from that. I think you got the tag everywhere on Nostr as well. So please go follow BTC Sessions if you don't do so yet, but I doubt anyone doesn't, and if you haven't, please go do. Watch his videos if you want some educational material or need to share it in your community. I think Ben has really good videos to start with and to share amongst your new friends in the Bitcoin space. And with that, I want to say thanks to 𝗿𝗵𝐻 as well. Mary, thank you for coming up here and doing your work on Twitch. People go follow Mary on Twitch, and if you can, drop her your Twitch Prime, etc. That'd be cool. And with that, we hope to see you next month. And thank you so much for being here. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us, Ben. Thanks, Bess.
Thanks all.